Hey YouTube, and welcome back to my channel. Welcome to Mosaic with TJ. Today I am going to share something with you, um, something entitled What I Would Tell My Younger Self. So let's get to it. So, what I would tell my younger self. Well, before I get into it, I want to address a few things or request a few things. So, if this is your first time to my channel, please like and subscribe, and also share. When I first started this channel, just to give you a little background, again, for those who don't know, I started it as a hobby. But one of the things I wanted to do with this hobby is to share pieces of me, pieces of my life. I'm 54 now, and I've learned a lot of things over the course of my life. And that is why I decided, after several iterations, I decided to title my channel Mosaic with TJ Randolph. And the reason why Mosaic is because mosaic is a beautiful piece of art made out of many broken pieces. And when I think about my life, there are some beautiful bright colored pieces, there are some dull pieces, there are some sharp pieces, and some bigger than others. But it's all put together to bring me to where I am now, and I'm really grateful for the place that I'm in. So let's talk about my younger self. What's interesting, I have been watching a lot of broadcasts lately. And I think Fresh and Fit is one. I can't think of some of the others, but Fresh and Fit, and then some of the other just podcasts that I may happen across on YouTube. And I see a lot of beautiful young women. And the prevailing thought that I see, or the prevailing attitude that I see from many young women is, I'm fine, I'm going to be fine. I got men giving me the back, giving me money, buying me this, buying me that, living a lavish lifestyle. They think they're going to always have it. Well, I used to think that too. So the first thing I would say to my younger self is, just like the Jackson song, "Time waits for no one." Time waits for no one. So while I was out, and believe me, I had a wonderful time, in my youth. Traveled, partied, dated, didn't really focus on wanting to get married. Now, I knew I wanted to get married, but I felt that I had time, so after graduating from college, I moved to California, started to plot my course, to become a young professional. I think we called it Buppies back in that time. And I was living the life, having the time of my life. Knew I wanted to get married, but not just yet. Not just yet. I figured I have time. I figured that when they'd be ready, when I finally was ready, they'd be ready. But what I didn't really pay attention to, there were friends, peers, people from college who had already made the connections with the people that would be their husband, while I'm out trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life and enjoying my life. I was not seriously looking into marital prospects. And I really didn't think it would be a problem because although I still consider myself an attractive woman to be 54, but in my 20s I was a hot so and so. So so part of this journey I'm going to share also pictures of myself during those years. So, another thing I would tell my younger self is the decisions that you make today will have a direct impact on your tomorrow. So choose wisely. One of the things I've noticed with this younger generation is they don't seem, and this is a generalized statement, so if it doesn't apply to you, it doesn't apply to you, but they don't really see down the road. I'm not even sure that they can even see themselves down the road. What I mean by that is, as much I was young and hot and full of life, I envisioned someday that I would be married, a mother, a grandmother even, getting into my old age. I envisioned that because I saw it. I saw my grandfather. But I don't think the young people today even think that far ahead. And the reason why I say that is because I look at some of the choices that they make, and specifically women. We women, or the young women I've seen, they have a bunch of tattoos. They have, especially with social media, everything is out there for the world to see. And they want to show everything. But they don't consider the fact that, 5-10 years down the line, when their lives have changed and they may want something different, that information is still out there. And who's to say what kind of access organizations are going to have, should they find themselves, once they're no longer, hot as they were, and they, look for a regular job, that kind of information or public display, how that's going to affect them. I give you an example. When I graduated from high school in 1985. I know that's a long time for some of you, but I made a decision. I made a choice, and the choice was to steal money from my employer. Yes, I know. The choice was to steal money from my employer, and fortunately for me, it was considered a misdemeanor. But what I didn't anticipate is when I wanted to get my life on track and wanted to pursue, ROTC in 1987, I was not eligible because I had a record. Even though it was a misdemeanor, it was still on my record. It was still pretty fresh between 85 and 87. Also, I did not anticipate that I would continue to have to explain myself to both school institutions as well as prospective employers for the next 10 years to convince them to give me a chance. So this one choice I made in 1985 affected my life for the next 10 years. So, something to think about. I'm not even talking about dating. Right now, I'm just talking about choices in general. But when we talk about dating, I had the opportunity and did meet some really nice guys. But I had, like many young women, I had a tendency not to give them a real chance. Again, I figured I had time. They talk about hypergamy. I'm not sure if that was my motivation. It may have been, but I think I just, again, figured I had time. And, the average guy or whatever didn't seem exciting enough for me. I'm sure some of you can understand what I'm talking about. And also, there was a need in me to feel like I had to fix something or fix someone. So even in my earlier years, I was taking on projects. I would choose men or allow men to choose me that were projects. And when I would pour into them and grow them, guess what? They went and chose somebody else. Okay? So I didn't think about that. And, it's funny, the choices that I make or made. When I was in college, and shortly, after graduating college, I said that I was not going to date a man that had children. Not unlike many discussions that are going on in the manosphere right now, I did not want to date a man with children because I knew where I would fall in the pecking order. I knew that, his children would come before a girlfriend. And I also thought that dating was hard enough without the potential drama of, my guy having to deal with his children's mother. So my choice was not to date men with children. So some may call it selfish, just like I see some of the women that call into Kevin Samuels and don't understand or don't appreciate the thought that men may not want to date women with children. I was the same way. I didn't want to date men with children. But my perspective changed when it's fate and my choices would have it. I met the man who would be my daughter's father. Got pregnant within 6 months of knowing him. Okay, so at 27, I became a single mother. Choices. So now a parent myself, I could not say to myself, well, I'm not going to date a man that has children. Why? Because I had a child. So the dynamics had changed. My prospects had changed. So at the age of 29, my first boyfriend at the time, had a son of his own. Regrettably, that didn't work. And I could go on and on about why it didn't. But that will probably be a video for another day. So that will probably be a video for another day. But again, I'm a single mom now. So here I am. Here I am in my 20s, right here. Actually, I think I may have been 19, 20 here. Got the abs working, out of the picnic at the park, kicking it. I don't know why I have the yellow block out over me instead of them. But anyway, that's me with the abs. So here I am. I remember this picture specifically because that was in 1992. Couldn't tell me nothing. All right? Rest in peace to my soror here. But again, we were living the life, as you all say, living our best life, getting ready to go out into the world. Not thinking about marriage. When I'm ready, they'll be ready, right? No. Here I am on campus, University of Oklahoma, kicking it. DST in the house, okay? Representing. Living my best life. Graduation here. Excited. Okay? Excited. But then moving on to my 30s. By the time I'm 30, I'm a mother. My daughter's 3. I had to make some decisions, had to make some more choices. I had to decide how I was going to take care of me and my daughter. You know, her father and I were pretty much estranged at that time. So I had to come up with a plan. So my plan was to, go back to ROTC. And like I said, the 10-year time frame, in that 10-year time frame after my arrest, I was able to redeem myself. I graduated from college. I was in a master's program. I had a work history. I had letters of recommendation from professors. So I had done enough to redeem myself to the extent that the Army was willing to take a chance on me to earn a commission. So while I'm doing that, I'm a mom. I'm working 2 jobs. Still wanting in my mind wanting to have a husband, but the focus at that time was making sure I could provide for my daughter. So I go on active duty. So here I am in my 30s. I still look good. You see the arms. Got my guns blazing. So I'm still attractive, and I think in as much as I'm a single mom, I have a great kid. She was smart, well behaved, cultured. Again, I'm still dating men that have children, but military, I'm moving around. So there was no time to really establish. Well, I'm not going to say there was no time, but it didn't manifest. The relationships did not manifest into marriage. It didn't manifest into marriage. So now, here I am in my 40s. Here I am in my 40s. And I met a really nice guy. I met a really nice guy who was an average, hardworking guy, and we dated. We loved each other, but we couldn't progress. We couldn't progress, partly because of me, and partly because of him. Partly because of me, because I was trying to orchestrate everything. Even our very first date, I planned it. I suggested it. So from that point on, I was leading the relationship. No, shouldn't have happened. Shouldn't have happened. And him, because in as much as he told me he was divorced, he'd actually been separated for 8 years. That don't work. That don't work. So 4 years of my life, hoping that would have resulted in marriage, it didn't. And all the while time is passing, my daughter's growing. She's becoming more independent herself. It was easy for me to not focus on finding a husband at that time. And to be honest, by my 40s, it was becoming more of a reality. The reality of my marital prospects was setting in. And I was entertaining the fact that, okay, I'm still reasonably attractive, but again, they're not as plentiful. When I'm out and about, I'm turning 1 or 2 heads, but it wasn't like when I was in my 20s or even my 30s. So it's becoming real to me that my prospects are kind of dwindling. And like I said, at this time, my daughter's growing up. This picture right here at the top, this top picture, I'd actually been crying all week. I have been crying all week. Why? Because that was my daughter's senior year of high school. And it was becoming more real to me that my daughter was getting ready to leave and I was going to be by myself. I was going to be by myself. And I wasn't sure what to do with me. I wasn't even sure who I was anymore because for 18 years I had been focused on her. Yeah, I had the idea of wanting to be married, wanting to be in a loving relationship, but she was a priority. So now she was going to be gone. Who was I apart from being her mother? I wasn't anybody's wife. I wasn't even sure I knew how to be one. I had married her father back when I was in my 30s. It didn't work. We were married 2.5, 3 years. So I didn't have any practice. So yeah, I've been crying at the top picture because the realization that my daughter's about to live her own life was sinking in. So the two bottom pictures, again, in my 40s, I was dating, but not that much. Not that much. By the time I'm here, by this time I'm in Texas, doing what a lot of people are doing because I'm not out like I was. So online dating, and that was not very promising. Because people can be who they want to be on the internet. And I would find that out. So now moving through, 50s. This is a different point in my life. And this is where I am now. But I have been single from 2002 to 2019. I'll say 2018 because I met my husband in 2018. But I have been single all of that time. My body started to change. Well, there are a couple of reasons for that, I would imagine. One, I was older, but also I was no longer in the military, so I wasn't as physically active. And, I didn't get the correlation because I was able to snap back so quickly. So a lot of things were coming front and center that I didn't have to think about in my 20s. Not too much in my 30s, but it really started to hit home in my 40s. So the third thing I would tell my younger self is youth is wasted on the young. My younger self would probably look at me and like, what are you talking about? Well, the reason why I say that is because when we are in our youth, we don't realize how valuable it is. We don't realize how fleeting it is. We don't realize that in the blink of an eye, 20 years will have passed. They think they can, twerk, have multiple sex partners and flaunt that. And then once they've done it, say, I want to settle down now and that someone is going to want to marry us. I think some women don't realize, and to take it a step further, they don't realize how having a child changes that. Because they still think that they can exercise the same options. Now, that is one thing I will say for myself. I knew that. I knew that when I had my daughter, that changed the whole equation. Because I would be seen differently. Because I was different. I was a mother. But the lesson I learned, I was not going to have another child out of wedlock. If I would have known then what I know now, I would have paid attention to those young men who pursued me. Silly me, back then I'm pursuing guys that didn't really want me, really want me. But the guys that were pursuing me, I'm like, eh. But I have no regrets. I have no regrets because the military and the choice I made to go into the military gave me the opportunity to give my daughter a life that I'm not sure I would have been able to give her. I don't regret not giving those younger men a chance. And why I don't regret it is because I'm gracious, I'm humble enough and grateful enough that I had another chance. That I had another chance to find love, and a good love at that, and to be married. You know, you have to think about what you want, and you know, everyone doesn't want what I wanted. But I wanted to be married. I wanted to be loved. I wanted to be a wife. I didn't know how to be a wife, but I knew I wanted to be one. So that took some learning too. But I'm sharing this with you in hopes that some of you that are in that, one of two things. Either you're younger, in your 20s and 30s, and thinking like I thought, and not thinking about, you know, if you want to be married and you want to have children, putting as much effort into that as you put into your school and your career, because time passes quickly. I'm sharing this with you because if you want to have a family, the best thing you could do for yourself is to not have children out of wedlock. But if you are a mother, you have to make some decisions. You have to make some decisions as to what is more important to you now. Is it marriage or is it your children? And if you are a woman that is in my age group, 40s and 50s, with grown children or no children at all, if you want to be married, I can't guarantee that it happened, because I couldn't guarantee it would happen for me. The possibility is still there. It's a little bit more, a lot more challenging, because our lives are different at 40 and 50. We're not out like that anymore. But we still have to put some effort into it. I did. You know, it's difficult when you are in your 40s and 50s, especially if you have not been in a relationship, a serious relationship, for a long time. You're not used to having to compromise. I wasn't. So that is another reason I don't regret the past relationships, because I learned something from each one of them to prepare me for now. So that is my little piece about what I would tell my younger self. I'm interested to know your thoughts and comments, and let me know if you can identify with anything that I've shared. So until next time, bye to you. Have a good night.